Training for muscle-ups is the biggest mistake that you can do in your calisthenics journey that will slow down your progress by months. Now, before we start, you may ask yourself, who the fuck does this guy think he is? So let me tell you my story. About 3 years ago, like everyone else, I saw these guys with crazy physiques doing those insane calisthenics skills with their body weight. So that's when I started. And ever since then, I've went beyond my dreams and I've achieved the no-dip muscle-ups, the handstand push-ups and other crazy skills like the front lever pull-ups and front lever touch. So contrary to what all of the fitness trainers and calisthenics trainers are saying on the internet, this is the only video we'll ever need for the muscle-ups. And by the end of it, you'll walk away with all the knowledge and all the action items that you need to unlock the crazy muscle-ups without learning any bullshit technique or wasting time on useless progressions like the banded muscle-ups, the negative muscle-ups and the straight bar dips. And I'm calling it bullshit simply because I had friends train for it with bands, train for it using negatives or straight bar dips, and they're still stuck on the regular muscle-ups. While in that time I was able to do the no-dip muscle-ups and other crazy skills like the front lever and all the others that I mentioned in the beginning. So, if me, a 16-year-old guy can do it, then what the fuck is stopping you? With more life experience, more knowledge, and more testosterone. So let's dive in. Now, first of all, you may ask Alexi, why is training, for example, band-assisted muscle-ups a scam? Or why is training muscle-ups a scam whatsoever? And I know that on the internet you've heard that you need to do band-assisted variations, then do them with lighter bands, and then do the negative muscle-ups, then do the straight bar dips, and all of that to finally achieve the muscle-up. But I know that you've heard as well that the muscle-ups are 70 to 80% technique, right? So the idea of training it with bands, it's about learning the technique. But in that case, you're making the exercise even lighter in terms of strength. But to actually make the muscle-up, it is required to do around 10 to 12 pull-ups as well. You've heard that as well. So in that case, if the strength requirement is so low and using bands at the same time, then what the hell are we even doing in that case? Because using bands for technique-oriented exercise, what the fuck is that? Let me give you an example. Would you train band-assisted handstands? No, right? Or would you train a band-assisted, 360 is a different example, but doing a handstand band-assisted, which is a 90% technique exercise, is absolute bullshit. And I know that it sounds absolutely crazy. So in that case, wasting time on trying to learn the muscle-ups with bands instead of building real actual strength through, for example, pull-ups. So do you already get where I'm going with this? Wasting time on tiring yourself and doing band-assisted and doing other variations, trying to learn the muscle-up instead of learning actual strength through real exercises, is absolute bullshit. So in a minute, I'll get to what you need to do and all the action items that you need to implement. But now let me get to the second question. Why shouldn't you train muscle-ups if you can already do them? And why is it a scam? And the reason for that is, remember that I told you that muscle-ups is around 70% technique exercise, right? Well, it's wrong. Because if you want to do a full, clean muscle-up with no keeping, no momentum and none of that bullshit, then it's the other way around. So you need 70 to 80% of strength. So in that case, doing the muscle-up, in which if you haven't perfected it already, doing it with keeping and all of that, will get you there super slow. And we're not even talking about the other band-assisted variations or the other exercises that we've talked about. So if you can already do 10 to 12 pull-ups or 10 to 12 dips, which I assume you can do as well, wasting time on learning the muscle-up is useless because you will do it with bad form. So now you may ask, Alexi, how the hell are we supposed to build up the strength and finally get a clean muscle-up? Which brings us to the next part of the video on how I did it without wasting any time or wasting my energy on useless variations while surpassing my friends by miles. And how you can do the same and implement it into your routine. Now, there are only 3 super simple keys to my framework that I stuck to, so start taking notes so you can implement them straight away. Now, first of all, of course, we forget about training the muscle-ups, like I said. And first of all, we need to build a very good base strength. And by base strength, I mean pull-ups. Of course, if you want to start building skills after you've built a very good base strength, then for sure you can go do, for example, the front lever, which is ideal because you won't waste any weeks or any months on training the muscle-ups. And you already built an insane strength just by doing those skills. But because I think that muscle-ups are very fun, then the only requirement is the good base. Which brings us to point number 2, which is the weighted pull-ups. This is one of the only 2 exercises you will ever need to build an insane strength. And the reason for that is because imagine you've put a 10 kg weight, for example. After you take it off, you're just gonna feel like you're flying. So for weighted pull-ups, I recommend either using a weight vest or using a belt with weights. And the reason for that is because imagine putting a backpack on your back. So let me show you. When you're doing the pull-ups, you're already retracted and your lower back is bent. So you're like this. So imagine putting a weight vest on, imagine putting a backpack on your back, which creates that dangerous arc. And I've injured myself like that before, so I know. So in that case, if you don't have neither of the first two that I said, you can use a backpack, but put it on your chest. Because like this, the chance of injury is much lower. So now again, here's how you should perform them. Ideally, you should have your thumb below the bar. Again, you do the retraction, activate your core, so stop swinging, and then from here pull. And try bringing your chest to the bar and not your chin like in regular pull-ups. And your goal with the weighted pull-ups is actually doing between 3 and 6 reps, and the reason for that is because you should be aiming for intensity and not for volume. And the reason for that is because intensity, so doing low rep range but maximum strength, so adding as much weight as you can to get in that rep range, is actually what builds your strength. Because volume is gonna build your muscle and endurance, but not that much strength. So for example, if you can already do 10 to 15 pull-ups, for example, then you should add either a 5 to 10 kg weight. And like that, you'll be in the ideal 3 to 6 rep range. Which brings us to key number 3. Which brings us to key number 3. Which brings us to key number 3, and this is the explosive pull-ups. And this is the key number 3 because combining explosivity with the insane strength through weights is the absolute perfect combination. And the way you do them is pretty simple. The name speaks for itself. So now, how you do the pull-ups? So now how you do the explosive pull-ups. Again, thumb below the bar. You jump a little wider than shoulder height. You activate your core. You can have a tiny swing. And you try to pull as high as you can, again opening your chest. And your idea is to pull at least to chest level like this. But if you get good, you can start pulling even higher to waist, for example. And that's pretty simple. That is the explosive pull-up. And as for the explosive pull-ups, you should do them in the same rep range as the weighted pull-ups, due to the same reason. Because you're training for strength and not for endurance. And now, very important, before the workouts, never forget to do a very thorough warm-up. And the reason for that is because doing weight, doing explosive, puts your nervous system and your muscles under a very big tension. So do the stretches, do some band assisted reps, or just do regular pull-ups and dips to warm up for the weighted exercises. Now, this wouldn't be an Alexi video if there weren't any actionables. So right now, I'll give you my exact routine that I use myself and that I give all my clients to build that insane strength to prepare them for any skill, with the muscle ups as well, of course. So if you've watched my other content, you will know that I'm a hater of push and pull split in calisthenics. So in that case, you would squeeze those exercises. You would mix those exercises with your regular workouts. So for example, doing the explosive pull-ups with the dips and the leg raises in one workout. But as this leans into skill training, then we should very correctly prioritize the actual pull strength. So we'll start the workouts with the pull-ups. Personally, when I used to train basics, I trained 3 days per week, so on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. What I recommend that you do is do the weighted pull-ups on Mondays and Fridays and do the explosive pull-ups on Wednesdays. And every 2 to 4 weeks, you can mix things up and do the explosive pull-ups 2 times per week and the weighted pull-ups once per week. So you can actually build that very solid and balanced strength. In terms of sets, you should do between 3 and 4 sets for each exercise, as I find this to be the sweet spot for the strength development. And in terms of the rep count, then you should stick to a consistent rep count across all sets, but do the maximum that you can do on each set. So for example, if you can do 5, then stick to 5 across all sets, even if the last set is, for example, 4.5. But don't try to go, for example, to 6 on the first set, as this will disrupt the rep count on the other sets and you'll drop to, for example, 4 or 3 reps. And whether you should do 3 or 4 sets, it depends on your rep count. So if you can do on the lower end between 3 and 6 reps, then you should do 4 sets because you're not tiring yourself that much. But if you can do around 6 to 8 reps, then you should stick to 3 sets because doing more than 6 reps tires your body more because it requires more energy. Personally, I used to do an until failure workout on Friday, doing the last set of each exercise until failure. But depending on how your body responds, you can skip that part, because for some people it works better if they don't do an until failure, but for some people it works better if they do. So just listen to your body. Now we get to the good part. When I was able to do around 8 to 10 reps with the 10 kg vest on me, I was able to do a muscle up without any problems. So once you get to that level or close to that level, doing for example 7 or 8 reps with 10 kg, you will be easily able to do a clean muscle up. After a few attempts, of course, but you will get it. And you wouldn't have wasted any time or any energy on useless variations and on useless, for example, band assistance. So in that case, you can either start training for the muscle ups or continue the weighted journey. Personally, when I got to around 10 pull-ups with 15 kilograms on me, I started training for the front lever and I got it in 3 months. Now to wrap everything up from this video, forget about the muscle ups and focus on weighted and explosive pull-ups. Nothing more, nothing less. That is it. And now if you want to get the best possible results in the shortest time possible without wasting any of your time or any of your energy, just DM me Skill on Instagram and I'll send you information on my one-on-one mentorship to help you on your journey. I really hope you found this video helpful and see you on the next one. Peace!